This has been a long process. I remember first hearing about Fury Road so many years back. What was the process, and what were some of the changes that went in these past, 10 years, it seems like?
More than 10 years when we actually had written the piece and so on, but there were a lot of things that got in the way, and it kept on falling over, and we went on to other movies, and then we got back into it again, and we got rained out of Australia we broke a massive drought in the outback at Broken Hill, and what was flat red earth became a flower garden, and so we moved from the east coast of Australia to the west coast of Africa, Namibia, where it doesn't rain, and then we shot for 130 days, every day a big stunt day, and we eventually brought this thing home.
What are the safety precautions? How do you make sure that no one's hurt? Because this is incredible. It's jaw-dropping what you see on screen.
You know, with a movie like this where you don't defy the laws of gravity, there are no flying men or spacecraft, you have to do it old school, real world vehicles, real people in the desert, virtually playing it out for real. And we were obsessed with safety because when fatigue sets in and so on, things can go really, really wrong. But we had a fantastic crew, rigging crew, special effects crew, stunt crew. Our cast were up for it. They were very athletic cast. You know, Tom had been a rugby player. Charlize has been a ballet dancer, a very fine one, so they're physically disciplined. Same with the rest of the cast, we were able to do it. And the big thing, compared to the old days, you can put cables on people, keep them from falling to their deaths, as it were, so you can play it out on the vehicles, and it's so easy to erase those cables, and that makes a big difference. Plus, we rehearsed everything. I mean, everything you saw was rehearsed and prepared, and that was part of it. Because not only does everything you do need to be predictable, just to keep it safe, but you've got to get it in your cameras. No point in doing a spectacular stunt and it goes by the camera, which happens, you know.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
You were saying at the screening last week, there was 3 weeks of footage? So just tons of footage of this.
Yes, it was 480 hours of footage, but it wasn't like extra story. It's just that when we staged these road battles out there in the desert, we had cameras everywhere, in every vehicle. You could put cameras now where we couldn't before because they're small, they're digital, and most of all, the chips can run for 40 minutes, so you can just keep them running. In the old days, if you're doing slow motion, you're using up celluloid at high speed. You've got and you're doing, say, a big explosion like you would see in the chase. You got very little time for someone to start the camera, let the celluloid go through at the correct speed, and then get out of there. You'd have to get a car and drive them out there very quickly. Well, nowadays you can just let the camera run for 40 minutes or so, and then just take those few seconds you need out of the 40 minutes. But it was a massive amount of footage.
Yeah, I can't imagine the idea of putting it all together into a coherent story and making it work because it's incredible. It's incredible to watch.
Well, Margaret Sixel, who edited the movie, we dumped it in her lap back in Australia, and she had to sort of find the right 2 hours out of the 480 hours of footage. It was a big, like, Rubik's Cube, but we had a plan with the storyboards and so on, and that gave us a cue. But it's a little bit like music. You got to find the right notes, and well, it's a lot like music. It's structured like music. It's visual music. I like to think of these action movies as visual music, and this is kind of a rock and roll opera thing going on here.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Now, with Tom Hardy, when did you know he was Max? When did you know he could fill Mel's shoes?
Well, I'd seen Bronson, and I thought that was some performance. And then I also saw Stewart: A Life Backwards, a mini-series he did in Britain with Benedict Cumberbatch, and it was, I couldn't put the two characters together. And then the moment he walked in the door, it reminded me of Mel walking through the door 30 years before. Tom was 6 weeks old when when we first started to shoot the first Mad Max. But he had that same charisma, very lovable and still very dangerous. So there's you're fascinated, watching him because you're not sure what he's going to be doing next. And for a character that says very little, you need a lot of stuff going on inside. And he's just a daring actor, prepared to try anything. I think he's preparing to do Elton John after this. I mean, how do you put all that together? He's just a very, very daring actor.
He's a bit versatile too.
Yeah.
No, the beauty of this series is each film is a very different animal. This film is a very different from, I guess, closest to Road Warrior in the sense that it is an action film more so. Where do we see this going on? Is this something, do you plan on continuing? I know that Tom is signed to do 3 if it's successful.
Well, we wrote backstories for everything, not only the characters, but for every vehicle, every weapon, how the Citadel came to be, how the Immortan Joe created that sort of empire in the way that he ruled the wasteland. And we have 3 other stories, 2 of which are written. One is a novella, one is a script. And it happened by default. It wasn't intentional. We just had all the material. And so depending on how this goes and if I get the appetite to go out there into the wasteland again, and there may be other films.
It seems like a very tiring experience to just do one of these.
It is. It seeps into you. I mean, to be out there for 7 months every day in that desert, in the cold and the heat and the dust and so on. And there's, there is that underlying stress that if you really don't pay attention, you can really hurt somebody and really badly. So each day, particularly when you're doing those big stunts, you worry. It's always a relief when you get through it. Then you got to go and do the next one.
What was the most challenging stunt? The one that you can't believe you got away with?
Well, the thing I never thought we'd do for real were the guys on the poles, the polecats. I thought we'd do them and then CG them and the cars into our shots. And then Guy Norris, the stunt coordinator and second unit director, one day showed me some footage and they worked out all the physics with wide wheelbases and wherever, and there were 8 of these guys coming down the road, and I thought, wow. And it was safe, and even Tom Hardy got up on one of those. So I almost did, but I'm a little afraid of heights.
Hey, so I understand that you went and saw Mel Gibson before starting this film to kind of get a feel for whether or not you should take the role.
No, it wasn't that. I already had the role. I wanted to meet him just because I felt like I ought to meet him and say hello. And so I did. And I'm glad I did,
Was there anything that he said that kind of gave you any inspiration or made you feel better about the role or the part in any way?
No, absolutely not. No, in a nutshell. And then we sat and we talked about a lot of other stuff, and then I made him a bracelet, and like one of these ones, and then that was it. We were done. And then he phoned my agent, and he said that I think you may well have found somebody who's more crazy than I am.
That sounds like a compliment to me.
Yeah, well, I was hoping it was. Yeah.
Now, have you seen the film?
I have, yes. I've seen it a couple of times, yeah.
So the trailer is absolutely batshit crazy. Is the film live up to that trailer?
Yeah, and more so. It's 2.5 plus hours of that. It's full on. If you love action and you love live action stunts, and you want to see genuinely athletic and very difficult stunts to pull off, then it's the right movie for you. And plus, it looks incredible.
And some of his
making a road movie, and he's just extended it and put it on steroids. To be fair.
And so much of it is practical as well, which is just amazing.
Practical. That's the thing. It's like a lot of people have commented on the CGI element, and I swear I really wanted to bring my stuntman with me, Jacob, and like, there's 3 other guys who play Max, like different variations on the motorbikes or in cars, or those who are just getting thrown around in a really savage way. But everything is articulated fully in the same way that as Chris Nolan would, take a plane out of the sky or, flip a truck. they did everything out there on the ground. I mean, the only thing there's some very nominal CGI effects and stuff, but it's a lot of very fast cuts, and everything you see actually happened.
It looks amazing. I just finished reading the book, The Revenant, and I understand you guys are shooting. How's that going?
It's going well. I mean, we overshot by like 3 months so far. It's going so well, and we're going back to shoot some more because it's just so good. But it's really good. It's just a nightmare shooting and moving that amount of equipment because Chivo and Alejandro want to shoot in natural light. There's only so many hours in a day. You know, it's a very complicated shoot, and it's turning out to be a bit more complicated than I think was first. Was expected. I mean, but that's the way it is. So, luckily we've got the ability to go back out there and continue and to make it better and better. And I've seen about 20 minutes of it. It looks incredible. It's mind blowing. So
I have no doubt.
Really proud of it.